Maguam. Inamo pui wang karimba. Im hari mo nim tabu wain. Im way nim pio wain. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the state legislature on Indian Day. Thank you to Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. We're so happy and proud of our new governor. Before I start, I'm from Isleta, Pueblo. I want to recognize my governor, Governor Max Zuni, Lieutenant Governor Jeannie Rowe, Lieutenant Governor Richard Harmil, Sheriffs, Gino Hola. And I also want to recognize the people of Isleta, Pueblo. Could you please stand? Everybody that's from Isleta, Pueblo, raise your hands. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Hawu. Good morning, honorable tribal leaders, cabinet members, and other state agency representatives, members of the legislature, elders, our precious children and youth, and distinguished guests and friends. On behalf of the All Pueblo Council of Governors, thank you for the opportunity to share this day with you all here at our state capitol to collectively remember, recognize, and honor the continued legacy of our tribal and Pueblo nations. We stand upon the ancestral homelands of our Tiwa Pueblo people, with our beautiful city of Santa Fe referred to as the White Shell Water Place, or Ogapi Oge Awinge. It is important that we gather first and foremost to celebrate and commemorate the challenges and successes of our nations, but also to communicate our interests and concerns to pave the way for continued opportunities of collaboration and engagement between our tribes and the state of New Mexico. There was a time not too long ago where there was no delineation of any shared responsibilities between the state and our tribes. It has only been a little over 90 years that we were made citizens of this country and state. And only 70 years that work?
Sorry about that. It went out. Oh, there.
Okay. And only 70 years since the original caretakers of these lands were given the right to vote by our state. Since then, we've made strides with our first Native American legislator elected in 1965. Through our continued involvement and strengthening of our relationships with lawmakers to achieve profound and mutual respect, our leaders have been able to assert themselves and increase influence in state policy that impacts each and every one of our lives. This year marks the 10-year anniversary of the enactment of the State Tribal Collaboration Act. This landmark and visionary piece of legislation was the result of the prayers and actions culminating from multiple generations of partnership between tribal leadership, state leadership, tribal community members, cabinet secretaries, and advocates active in state-tribal relations. It serves as a milestone in the journey of our tribes forging powerful and effective partnerships in the spirit of collaboration to address issues important to all New Mexico tribal and Pueblo nations, including those issues regarding health, education, natural and cultural resource protection, infrastructure, and economic development. Recognizing the sovereign status of tribes and its core, the Act codified mechanisms and protocols to promote effective communication and collaboration and positive government-to-government relations between the state and the tribes, as well as to ensure the state agencies provide effective, culturally competent services to American Indians and Alaskan Natives. It is also symbolic of the state's respect for the contribution and impact of our tribes. After all, Native Americans are fundamental to any account of the history, culture, and economics of New Mexico. It is all but impossible to conceive of the arts and creative industries, tourism, or any number of other activities in New Mexico without considering the impact that Native Americans have played in their development. The El Pueblo Council of Governors commissioned the UNM Bureau of Business and Economic Research to conduct an economic impact assessment to demonstrate the economic contributions our Pueblos bring to the state of New Mexico's economy. Key findings in this study estimate that in 2017 alone, the 19 Pueblos brought $608 million into New Mexico. Directly and indirectly, these funds supported more than 11,500 jobs and generated nearly $1 billion in sales for New Mexico businesses. For context, the money that the 19 Pueblos brought into the state supported more jobs than agriculture or real estate. As significant as the tribes are statewide, the Pueblos' mark on rural communities in central and northern New Mexico is especially great. In Rio Arriba and Taos counties, tribal economies accounted for 10.4% of all economic activity. In Cibola and McKinley counties, 9.9%, and in Sandoval County, 9.2% of the total. The State Tribal Collaboration Act has played a critical role in ensuring the continued success of our tribes and pueblos on behalf of the state of New Mexico. Integral to the development of this act that became a model framework for other states and tribes in the United States was our former tribal leadership, former Governor Bill Richardson, former Secretary of Indian Affairs, Mr. Alvin Warren, former Senior Policy Advisor, Francine Jaramillo, Indian Affairs Department staff, Senator John Pinto, Representative Ray Bigay, former Cochiti Governor, Mr. Regis Pecos, and Chief of Staff and late Speaker Ben Lujan. We give our thanks to these leaders and others involved in honoring those who have come before us and those generations forthcoming in advocating and building policy that promise to strengthen the relationship between tribal nations and the state of New Mexico. However, in recent years, the implementation of the State Tribal Collaboration Act has been steadily diminished to no longer reflect its original intent. The required annual State Tribal Leaders Summit ceased to be a setting where mutual issues of concern were addressed by the state governor and tribal leaders. State agencies have not always made a reasonable effort to collaborate with tribes in developing policies, agreements, and programs that directly affect American Indians or Alaskan Natives. State agency annual reports became inconsistent and, in some cases, without substance. And the role and influence of sub-tribal liaisons was curtailed. This disregard for such a historic law must end now. Today I am calling upon the state of New Mexico to renew its commitment to the State Tribal Collaboration Act and asking that we work together to identify where the act has succeeded and also where it needs to be strengthened to achieve its original version. And we all heard Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham just do exactly what we're asking her to do. So thanks to the governor for that. The state of the address to, and I quote, "We are grateful to the Governor Lujan Grisham for committing as part of her state of the state address to," and I quote, "the full restoration of positive, collaborative relationships between the state and our tribes, and to rebuilding an effective intergovernmental framework by working directly with the sovereign native nations of New Mexico." Governor Lujan Grisham, the Pueblos are ready to engage in this effort with you, along with the members of the House and Senate. Forging strong working relationships here at home is especially important as we look to the federal political landscape, where there is much work to be done to improve the federal-tribal relationship and address the profound disrespect and disregard of our tribal nations by the current administration. Our tribes and Pueblos continue to remind our federal government of their trust responsibilities that transcend temporary political issues to uphold obligations of a government-to-government relationship. We are fortunate and proud to have elected champions in Congress that support and advocate for our tribes and all people of New Mexico with exemplary dignity and passion to protect and preserve the humanity foundational to our values as Pueblo people. We look forward to your success, Congresswoman Deb Haaland, Congresswoman Torres, and we look to your continued leadership, Senator Tom Udall, Senator Martin Heinrich, and Representative Ben Ray Lujan. Our Pueblos and tribes continue to advocate at state and federal levels for legislation to fund programs essential to our communities to address the health of our people, the challenges in social welfare, mental health, behavioral health, elderly and child care programs, youth leadership development, community development, and critical capital infrastructure, improving our libraries, tribal health clinics, sewer and water systems, and roads, among many other critical essential elements to maintain and improve the quality of life in our communities. We also have challenges to protect our cultural resources and sacred lands from further devastation and desecration, especially those in the greater Chaco landscape. I'd like to give a heartfelt thank you to all of those community members of all generations for your continued prayers and efforts joining our nations in the preservation of our precious ancestral resources and protection of communities experiencing the health impacts of rampant oil and gas development. We will keep an eye on related legislation proposing to address the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women for our state, as well as renewable energy legislation that promises to ensure that our tribes and all New Mexicans have the opportunity to participate in the state's energy future and address climate change. We are also proud of the truly visionary and transformative work embodied in a comprehensive set of state legislation towards the realization of the mandates of the Yazzie-Martinez Court Order. The magnitude of collaboration and commitment by individuals and organizations to achieve this pathway has been unprecedented in our state as key education stakeholders, including New Mexico school districts and families, and hundreds of teachers, superintendents, school boards, community groups, local education experts, and representatives of our All-Pueblo Council of Governors Education Committee continue to be at the forefront of shaping our state's public education system. They have developed remedies that include a multicultural education framework, improved bilingual and English language learner programming, universal and quality full-day free kindergarten, sufficient access to extended learning opportunities like summer school and after-school programming, social service, smaller class sizes, and increased teacher pay and support to recruit and retain high-quality teachers. With all of our support, these changes will fulfill our state's constitutional order to provide a sufficient education system that addresses racial and economic inequalities while honoring and embracing as assets the cultures of our native and all students of New Mexico. I want to close by reflecting how far we have come in such a short time. Yet we have a long way to go. The history of the land we share is complex, with the colonization and occupation of Spain, Mexico, and the United States. Through all these encounters over centuries, there were conflicts. These conflicts are among the darkest chapters of our history, but through these challenges, our people have been adamant in ensuring the continued prosperity of our people. In reflecting upon our past, we can learn from these complexities, from the encounters that led to necessary resistance, from our collective adversary, adversity, to realize the spirit of resilience and vision, from the atrocities to a communion of peoples, to a shared appreciation that we are the descendants of the decisions of those who came before us. We are related by our past, and these lands, we are interrelated, we are intertwined, we are interdependent on the same life-giving natural resources. We are part of the same community, guided by shared core values. Our time is today. We must find ways to share in mutual responsibility for our collective longevity in ways that are both symbolic of our communion and reflect our commitment to improve the life of our peoples in material and tangible ways. Our Pueblo ways are guided by deeply held core values of love, respect, and compassion for one another. It is what guides our leadership, but it must also be understood that we will do all we can to protect what our Creator gifted to us: our lands, our language, our way of life, our indigenous laws, our customs, our families, and communities. It is our sincere hope that each one of us in our own capacities here today leads in a way that exemplifies our determination to define a future that we desire the most, to collectively change in the creation of a sustainable and life-affirming world that our children can be proud of and share in vibrant celebrations for generations to come. Thank you very much, and enjoy your day here today. I was asked to do a announcement here by the New Mexico Water Resources Research Institute, and it is to invite tribal leaders to participate in plans for an upcoming water conference. And for more information, you can contact their office, New Mexico Water Research Institute, at 575-646-4940. Thank you very much. We all know how important water is for us. Thank you.
Chairman, we really appreciate, thank you for your words and your wisdom